Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ryan Guest, founder and sole operator of Election Predictions Official. In today's video, we will be analyzing the three most important states that Donald Trump, the unequivocal frontrunner for the Republican nomination, absolutely must win to reach 270 electoral votes next November and become just the second U.S. president to serve a second non-consecutive term in the White House. I will be referencing my very own 2024 presidential election forecast throughout this video, which you can check out at electionpredictionsofficial.com. A link will pop up for it in the top right-hand corner. It'll also be the very first link in the description. Alrighty, without further ado, let's identify the three states that the former president's campaign should spend the most time and resources on ahead of Election Day. On your screen right now is a 2024 Electoral College map filled in based on the results of the 2020 presidential election, except for the 14 states and 2 congressional districts that were decided by a single-digit margin. That is, neither Biden nor Trump carried any of these states by more than 10%. The states that have been filled in, though, are those we can safely consider to be safely aligned with either party. In fact, all 36 of these states, plus the District of Columbia, have voted for the same party in each of the last 4 presidential elections dating back to 2008. Now, you will notice that Donald Trump and Republicans are already at a disadvantage here, down 125 to 209 in the electoral vote count. The deep blue states of California, Illinois, New York, New Jersey, and Massachusetts account for 126 electoral votes alone, more than all 20 of these safe Republican states combined. That's just the lay of the land and where the people live. On a more positive note for the Republican Party, though, the states of Texas, Florida, Ohio, and Iowa, as well as Maine's 2nd Congressional District, total 93 electoral votes, raising Trump's electoral count ahead of Democrats 219 to 209. And all 4 of these states lean strongly in favor of the GOP. The Midwestern duo of Ohio and Iowa have effectively voted in tandem with one another since 2008, backing Democrats and Barack Obama in that election and then again in 2012, before voting Republican for Donald Trump by more than 8 percentage points in both 2016 and then 2020. Ohio saw the 10th strongest pro-Republican shift of any state relative to the nation between those elections, while Iowa ranked 16th. Now, my latest EPO forecast projection has Republicans winning both of these states by about 11 points in 2024. Moving down south, Florida had the 3rd largest pro-Trump swing of any state between 2016 and 2020. It voted 7.5 points to the right of the nation in 2020, the most it has in either direction since 1988. And then, more recently, Republican incumbents Governor Ron DeSantis and Senator Marco Rubio were reelected in the Sunshine State by 19 and 16 points, respectively, in the 2022 midterms. The EPO forecast currently projects a 7-point Republican win in Florida. Finally, in spite of the Democratic Party's ramped-up efforts to flip Texas, Trump still received 52% of the vote in 2020, just as he did 4 years prior. Texas was the 9th closest state in the 2020 election, the first time it placed in the top 10 closest states since 1968, but the concern for Democrats is that they may have peaked too early here. They received the turnout bombs they were hoping for in major metro areas across the state in 2020, but Trump significantly improved his numbers among Hispanic voters, who make up around 40% of Texas's electorate. My forecast has Republicans projected to win in Texas by 6.3%, and early polling data has also shown Trump well ahead in the Lone Star State. Remember, the former president exceeded his polling average here in 2020 by more than 4 points. So unless we see Biden suddenly start to pull well ahead in Texas, we can comfortably label it as likely Republican. Now, for the purposes of this video, where we are trying to determine the 3 states that Trump must win to reach 270 electoral votes, it wouldn't make any sense to name any of the states that he won in 2020. Given that he lost the election by a substantial electoral college margin, he'll need to, at minimum, carry the states that he won. That means North Carolina, which Trump carried by 1.5 points in 2020, will join the aforementioned states in the likely Republican column. It would be unreasonable to suggest that there exists a scenario in which Trump loses North Carolina, which has voted Republican in 3 consecutive presidential races and is projected to favor Republicans by 3 points according to my forecast, yet somehow flips enough states elsewhere to reach 270. That's just not going to happen. Likewise, though, if we follow similar logic on the other side, we can label Minnesota, New Hampshire, and Maine, 3 states that Biden won by more than 7 percentage points in 2020, as likely Democrat. These states only get Biden to 225 electoral votes, and even if Trump wins any of the 3 in 2024, he will more than likely also have won all of the more competitive states left blank as well. One of the key components of the term easiest path to 270 is that any such path would involve winning the least number of states possible to eclipse that number. When you're playing from behind, you want to target the states that you have the best chance of flipping, and not go fishing for those firmly aligned with the other party. So on that note, the first state of the 6 remaining that I believe should be the top priority for Republicans in 2024 is Pennsylvania. I've said it once, and I'll say it again. The Keystone State is not just in name, it is also in practice. With Florida losing its swing state status, Pennsylvania's 19 electoral votes are now the biggest prize of any battleground state on the map. And although Biden won by a margin of 1.2% in 2020, Pennsylvania still voted 3.3% to the right of the national average, as the Democrat won the national popular vote by 4.5 points. This marked the 2nd consecutive election in which Pennsylvania voted to the right of the nation, which previously it had not done since 1948. Additionally, with Iowa, Ohio, and Florida backing the losing candidate in the 2020 election, Pennsylvania, along with Wisconsin and Michigan, were established as the states with the longest bellwether streak still in effect today. That is, the last time Pennsylvania voted for the losing presidential election candidate was 2004. Furthermore, the Keystone State was the tipping point state in the 2016 election, when Trump carried it by 0.7%. And it also would have been the tipping point state in the 2020 election had Trump emerged victorious. And by tipping point state, I mean the state that supplied the final votes for a presidential candidate needed to reach 270 electoral votes. Now, early polling for 2024 in Pennsylvania has been a mixed bag, but an average created by Race to the White House shows Trump ahead of Biden by 0.5 points, with 44.9% to the incumbent Democrats' 44.4%. So in summary, Pennsylvania is not only the most electorally significant state with its 19 electoral votes, but it's also one of, if not the most competitive and winnable state for the Trump campaign, and therefore it is the first state that will be placed in the lean Republican column. Moving on, if Pennsylvania is 1A, its Rust Belt and upper Midwest neighbor to the east, Wisconsin, is 1B. The Republican National Committee has given us perhaps the earliest clues that they can give, that they see Wisconsin as one of their primary targets, selecting Milwaukee as not only the location of the first GOP primary debate, but also selecting the city to host their nominating convention next summer. Wisconsin is, after all, the only state decided by less than a point in each of the last 2 presidential elections. Donald Trump carried the state's 10 electoral votes by 0.8% in 2016, before Biden flipped it by 0.6% in 2020. Wisconsin was named the tipping point state in that election for the second time in its history. Going back even further, though, Wisconsin was also decided by less than 1% in both the 2000 and 2004 elections. So in 4 out of the last 6 elections in the state, the winner was decided by less than 30,000 votes. That's remarkable. Wisconsin is also widely considered to be the most demographically favorable state for Republicans out of the 6 key battlegrounds, as it is the least racially diverse and ranks in the bottom half of all U.S. states in share of college-educated voters. That said, perhaps the most favorable data point in favor of Trump's prospects in Wisconsin in 2024 is that it has shifted nearly 7 points in favor of Republican presidential candidates relative to the nation since 2012. Race to the White House's average in Wisconsin has Biden ahead by just over a point, with 44.9% to Trump's 43.8%. But the most recent polls, conducted by reputable pollsters Emerson College and Morning Consult, had Trump ahead by 2 points. So, Wisconsin joins Pennsylvania as 2 of the 3 states that Trump must win in 2024. The former Republican president now has 264 electoral votes to his name, just 7 shy of the number he needs, with 49 votes remaining in Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, and Michigan, plus the 2nd congressional district in Nebraska. Now, with all of that being said, to be perfectly transparent, naming Pennsylvania and Wisconsin as must-win states for the Trump campaign was relatively obvious, while naming a 3rd state has been a lot more subjective, I guess is the right term there. Trump could win any one of these 4 states remaining and have enough electoral votes to take back the White House. Both the latest EPO forecast and Race to the White House's polling averages have Republicans ahead in Arizona and Georgia, while Democrats lead in Nevada and Michigan. That said, trend-wise, Arizona and Georgia have shifted more than 7.5 points in favor of Democrats since 2012, as Joe Biden carried both states in 2020, the first time either of them had voted Democratic since 1996. Nevada and Michigan, meanwhile, have shifted more than 4 points to the right since 2012. Demographically, Georgia and Arizona are more favorable for Democrats than Michigan and Nevada, as the 2 Sunbelt states are more diverse and educated. So here you see why this decision is so difficult. Trump is polling worse and came closer to winning in Arizona and Georgia than in Michigan and Nevada. But voting patterns, trends, and demographics seem to suggest the opposite. Ultimately, I think the most fair thing for me to say is that the Trump campaign should initially invest their resources evenly between these 4 states, and then, based on polling in the late stages of next summer and into the fall, start to direct more time and money into whichever one of these states they feel they have the best chance of winning. Right now, if I had to place the 4 of them in order of most likely to end up being that 3rd most competitive state, along with Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, I would probably say Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, and then Michigan. I think a winning but narrow Trump coalition of victory is most likely to look something like this. But you guys can agree or disagree in the comment section down below. Which states would you change? Let me know. I hope you all enjoyed this video though, and or found it informative at the very least. If you did, make sure to give it a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, tune in next time. EP out.